Hello, Team Lockdown. I'm here in my capacity as a broadcast voice coach to talk about vocal fatigue. That's vocal fatigue to anybody else. And what I'm noticing is I'm working with people, voices are getting knackered. Now, voice is just a reflection of how the rest of you is. So if you're a bit knackered, a bit cranky and generally a bit grumpy, probably voice is going to sound a bit rubbish as well. But there are things you can do to stop it. One of which the things I'm seeing is people sort of shrinking into the ground as they're talking and their shoulders are going up. So possibly try this. Sitting up straight, not like you've had a pole inserted up your arse, because that would make you a little bit stiff and a little bit weird. And frankly, that wouldn't be very helpful because your jaw would probably clench. So think about sitting up straight. Think about moving. Use your hands if you're a hand mover. If you're clutching a phone or a tablet, chances are your jaw's going to get more tense, or just clutching a pen. So try and keep your hands free if you possibly can. Any excuse to move away from the screen in between breaks. Do some stretchy things. Do some shoulders. Look. Can you hear what's happened to my voice? Since I put my shoulders up, even a little bit, even a little bit, even a little bit. Let them go. Breathe. Who knew? As we get more panicked and stressed, what tends to happen is we start doing little squidgy breaths, and what we want is big breaths in through the mouth, silent ones, and then just let it out. So my ribs are swinging out. You haven't got time to your fancy yoga breathing. None of that. Just very calming, very relaxing. Sort your domestic arrangements out as well. Now, wheelchair users, you guys are already ahead of the game because hopefully you've got your seating nicely sorted out. For walking mortals, what you need to do is find something that's comfortable for you, that the screen's at a decent height, so you're neither cricking up and looking up loads or you're bearing down on people, because apart from anything else, it's not a very good look. Look, by the way, I put a hat on because I'm having a bad hair day. If you're having a bad hair day, put a hat on. Easy. And certainly hide your own view off, because that's frankly just off-putting. And here's another thing that doesn't immediately feel like it's going to affect your voice, but it actually does, is the counterintuitive, it's counterintuitive to look and look and look and look. And what I mean is, look, here's my big finger going towards where my little camera is. And when I'm looking at that, I look like I'm looking at you. When I actually do, in my head, look at you, I'm actually looking away. And when I look back at the camera, I look like I'm looking at you again. It does my head in. This is something TV reporters have to learn, looking down the barrel of the lens. That means I'm talking to you. And in real life, we don't stare at people, do we? In one spot, we don't go, I'm staring at you, I'm looking away from you. I'm staring at you, I'm looking away from you. No. So the good thing to do is actually to keep your eyes moving, not rolling around in your head, but maybe look when you're speaking directly, and maybe look at the person when they're speaking. Yeah? Keep your eyes moving. Don't keep your eyes fixed on one spot, because it's completely natural. And again, this causes tensions here and things to cramp up. Volume, shouting. That's another thing that a lot of people are doing. They're leaning in and they're shouting. Very good reasons, because Wi-Fi can be dodgy. They're trying to cut in to meetings. I'm talking about work situations here, by the way, particularly. Do what you like in your real life. But if you want to make a good impression, not get vocally fatigued, follow some of these sort of things. But let's just deal with shouting for a minute, because that can cause you, if you're doing that all day, your voice is going to be a bit poorly. And actually shouting doesn't necessarily make you heard any better in Belarus or Billericay. It's all to do with the signal. Try and get your meetings, if it's a work thing, try and get your meetings nicely chaired so people are invited to speak one at a time. If you've ever worked alongside deaf people and sign language interpreters, they have a very good etiquette on this. Just one person speaking at a time makes life a lot simpler and stops the shouty thing. When you do get your turn, take your time. I know you don't want people to cut in, but speaking more slowly and a bit more clearly is better than shouting at people, and it'll help keep your voice for the rest of the day. And for goodness sake, if you've got your little speakery thing, please don't shout into that, because that really makes other people's ears pop. Final thing to say is hydration. Fluid, we're made of fluid. So get some fluids in. Water, water, water. For some people, tea and coffee, they rule the day. Glug, glug, glug. Some people, it'll make your voice a bit scratchy and tired. Other people, it doesn't really matter. Try not to get a mug the size of your head, just because it's not a very good look. Later in the day, obviously, whatever you fancy is a little drink. Some people report actually wine makes them a bit froggy and croaky the next day. So watch your alcohol intake the night before you've got a meeting or what have you. Anyway, some thoughts. I thank you. Stay well, team. Stay vocally communicative, and see you on the other side.